or have fallen to the worship of chaos, or have been enslaved or mutated, and these are all destroyed by the legions. Slowly, as the Great Crusade expands, all the original 20 Primarchs are found, scattered on various human planets, and they are given command of their legions. Eventually, with the Primarchs rediscovered and the Great Crusade nearing completion, the Emperor raises one of the Primarchs, Horus of the 16th Legion, to War Master. Horus is to lead the conclusion of the Crusade, while the Emperor returns to Terra to work on the Webway project. But by this point, things have got a bit desperate. The Primarchs are all great leaders, but they're not really the perfect Imperial generals the Emperor was aiming for. They've all been raised in different human cultures with very different ideas of how to fight a war, very different ideas of what the Imperium should be, and very different ideas about the Emperor. Some see him as a great leader, others as a tyrant, others as a god. Many see him as a father figure and feel abandoned when he places Horus in charge and disappears off to spend the rest of the Crusade in a laboratory. Many of them worry what their place will be when the Crusade is over. After all, when the Thunder Warriors stop being useful, the Emperor just straight up killed them. And since they've obviously been stolen away by chaos at some point, the Emperor, never the most human and caring of beings, is quite closed about revealing his full plans to them. Games Workshop's also quite closed about revealing its full plans. I'm piecing this together from a lot of different books. Eventually, using some of these feelings of betrayal, Chaos manages to turn Horus and half the Primarchs against the Emperor, and a galactic civil war rages between the 9 Loyalist legions and the 9 Traitor legions. 2 Primarchs disappear mysteriously during the Crusade. This war is called the Horus Heresy, and there's a 50-book novel series about it, but in short, the Emperor spends most of it in his lab trying to finish the Webway project. A few Primarchs die. Horus lays siege to the Imperial Palace on Terra before the Emperor emerges and kills him, but is mortally wounded in return. The Emperor, catatonic, is placed on the life support device known as the Golden Throne, and the Traitor Legions retreat to the Eye of Terror, a massive area of the galaxy where the warp and real space cross over. In the 10 millennia after the Horus Heresy, the Imperium kind of devolves. It stays together, ruled by a council called the High Lords of Terror and a huge bureaucracy called the Administratum. One by one, the Loyalist Primarchs disappear or are killed in battles against aliens. The Great Astartes legions are considered way too much of a concentration of power, so they're split up into thousands of autonomous chapters of around 1,000 marines, spread across the galaxy and tasked with protecting specific areas or worlds. Because of the gene seed system, each chapter is largely self-sufficient, and because they were created by the Emperor and the Primarchs, they're also outside the direct control of the High Lords. After the Emperor is placed on the Golden Throne, a religious movement starts venerating him as a god who has ascended. Resisted at first, this eventually becomes the state religion of the Imperium, run by an organization called the Ecclesiarchy, and is brutally enforced across the galaxy. Crusades or holy wars, because of differences in scripture, become quite a commonplace thing. As the Imperium becomes more concerned with heresy and the threat of chaos and Xenos, the Imperial Inquisition is formed to hunt out traitors and heretics within. By the 41st millennium, the Imperium is a galaxy-spanning, authoritarian, fascist, religious fundamentalist, oppressive state, fighting to stay together against the threats of chaos and various species. It encompasses worlds so remote and backwards that they largely exist as medieval farming communities whose only contact with the Imperium proper is a tithe of soldiers every few decades, and teeming hive worlds with populations in the billions where everyone's a factory drone. The Imperium has no particular opinion on what form of government or social structure a planet might have, so long as it sticks to Imperial law and delivers its tithe, which means a lot of planets are ruled by autocrats, dictators, or a sort of noble caste. Any knowledge of chaos or the Horus Heresy is ruthlessly suppressed, and most people have no idea of anything in history beyond the propaganda they consume. The vast majority of humans never leave their home planet. The Emperor has been a catatonic husk for 10,000 years, but Psychers are still hunted down and returned to Terra, where they're sacrificed to fuel the Emperor's Golden Throne, or to power a giant navigational beacon called the Astronomicon. The lucky ones might become astro-telepaths, the only reliable way of communicating between star systems. Harboring Psychers, dealing with Xenos, or contact with Chaos are considered capital crimes, and if a planet is deemed too far gone, then it might suffer the fate of exterminatus, scoured clean of life, just as a precaution. The colossal, inefficient bureaucracy of the Imperium is intended as a satire. As the famous quote goes, whole sectors of space are lost. It's not a fun place to live. Horizon-born stories, the sequels to those. Decided to actually move the plot forward the first time they've done that since the 80s. Planets holding back the Eye of Terror fall, and a great warring spreads across the galaxy, one of the loyalist Primarchs reappears and forces a load of Imperial forces back to the front line, as well as making huge improvements to the Apprentice's parties. It's currently unfolding, so I'm not really going to go any further in this video. 40k borrows a lot from other sources. The colossal scale outlawing of AI and use of religion as a tool is straight from Dune. The concept of chaos powers is borrowed from Michael Moorcock, but the way chaos cults and chaos powers function is more Lovecraft, and the daily over-the-topness and satire is very heavily influenced by 2000 AD and Judge Dredd. The scale, paranoia, and ridiculous inefficiency of the Imperium is also really useful when you're writing this background for a game where any player might want to play any other player. There are tons of reasons why one Imperial faction might fight another Imperial faction. It's almost more common than fighting aliens. Finally, I should say that this is really only the history of humanity within 40k. I mean, they're the main protagonists and cover most of the factions, but similar videos can be made about the history of some of the alien factions. Those are definitely videos for another time. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the 40k background and you found that either useful or really confusing, let me know below. It'd be good to know if these things are actually working. See you next time.
Tracer here. Watch over here!